Hello and welcome to On the Sunny Side. I'm Sunny Greneveld. I'm an entrepreneur, and here on F15, I interview every week people who are shaping the digital economy. Now, this week's guest is Sophie Lamparter. Sophie's the founder of DART Labs, a tech incubator that bridges Europe to Silicon Valley. Sophie, welcome to On the Sunny Side.
Thank you so much, Sonny.
Well, I usually start with Sunny's Fast Five, five introductory questions. And the first one I have for you is, are you a morning or a night person?
It's 7 a.m. today here. I'm usually a night person, so it took me a second to get here. But no, when I'm up, I'm up. But I prefer being active in the evenings. I can concentrate more at night when everybody else is sleeping. Yeah.
Well, I'm especially honored to have you here at 7 a.m. in San Francisco. It's the most wonderful sunrise, very fitting to the show's name. So thank you for that. Quickly, if I would give you a time machine and you could travel to anywhere, any place, any time, future or past or present, where would you go?
Well, I guess as an investor, I would always want to go into the future, right? To see which technologies will take off, what's happening, so we make the right decisions in terms of what we're investing in, right? That would be amazing, right? If you could have this foresight. I think on a more personal level, living here in San Francisco, I would have loved to be here in the summer of love. so
That's a good one. That's a good
I think
one.
that time in the city must have felt like this very big movement and this kind of craziness and this belief of changing the world. I think it would have been incredibly moving to be here for a summer. Yeah.
So traveling back to the present, what's a question for you that's top of mind right now?
I mean, there are a few questions top of mind. I think last year, for me personally, and I think for all of us, showed quite some urgency in how we're treating humanity and also how we're treating the planet. And I think especially living here in California, we had quite a few daring like situations, right? There was, of course, COVID we all have to deal with. Then we had racial injustice with the whole Black Lives Matter movement. And then in September, the whole state was on fire. And that was for me, I think, a really, I mean, we all know about climate change and we've known it for many years. But then when you can't step out of your house anymore because you can't breathe the air and you're feeling climate change as a physical experience, that changes your awareness to another level. Yeah. And so I think for me that made it very clear that I also wanted to include this in the work I'm doing, right? So the investments we're making all have now either a human-centered aspect or a planet-centered aspect.
What does success mean to you?
Success means to me when we can really support amazing founders, right? Founders that have incredible ideas, that have a technology that they have ready to bring on the market, but they still need, you know, a little bit of guidance and a little bit of support to really scale that on a larger level and commercialize it and really bring it to the people in the end. And so if we on our end can support them not only financially, but also in terms of making the right introductions or give them guidance, I think, yeah, that's the most fulfilling part of my work. Yeah.
What kind of a startup company might be able to hope for support from DART Labs?
Really looking for, we say, technologies that help us somewhat be healthier as humans. So that could really be on the digital health side, but it could also be on the well-being side. We invested in education, we invested in communication tools, we invested a lot kind of on the interface between the digital and the physical world around the human body. So a lot of wearables, sensors, computer vision. So technologies that we believe can, with the right applications, have a positive impact on us. And then with about 20% of the funds that we have, we invest really in climate change, in in solutions that are important for our environment and the planet. So this in terms of kind of topics in the industries. And then very early stage, so really pre-seed, seed investments, sometimes spin-offs straight out of university. Team is together, but they're still kind of figuring out what their go-to-market strategy is. They might not have product market fit yet, but they definitely need to have a prototype, something that one can show, ideally some pilot projects that are already successfully running. And then of course, a team that can convince us, right? A team where we can think they can pull it off and they're going to be fun to work with and they're going to be able to navigate this and make quick decisions and adapt, right? So in this very early stage, speed and decisions are so important.
Where are there things that Europe should learn from Silicon Valley, and what things could maybe Silicon Valley also learn from Europe?
I think there is a lot, there's a huge difference actually, how you look at companies in that sense, in that early stage, and how you evaluate opportunity, right? I think an American mindset, specifically an American investor, always looks for opportunity, right? How big can this go? How is this going to change the world? How is this going to have an impact on 1 billion people, right? And it doesn't really need to be thought through yet, as long as you have this big vision and you're able to sell this and you're able to convince this. And I love looking for opportunities. So that part excites me. But then on the other hand, sometimes people are just blowing hot air, right? And they're trying to sell something that might not even be realistic, or they haven't evaluated the challenges, or they're not aware what the impact of a technology can be. Let's just look at social media, right? There was the idea how is it affect negatively our personalities, especially young people, and how it makes us dependent on these devices, right? Or privacy, this wasn't a discussion in Silicon Valley for many, many years, right? And slowly, because of backlash of consumers, these discussions come. But this is definitely something that I personally think Europe and Switzerland is doing much better, right? Much better in thinking about the impact of certain new technologies, how to make this accessible, thinking of inclusion, the quality while you're developing something. And so for me, yeah, I'm happy if I could bridge these two things, right? Finding really this like ethics in terms of technology, finding teams that really have something important in their hands and just need a way to scale. I'm not looking for teams that, are just able to pitch an idea and a few slides in an amazing way, right? And so I think there is a big difference in how you're trying to sell an idea in Europe and here. Also, I'm sometimes involved in investor discussions, right? Where we have other investors either in Switzerland or Europe or here in the US, and the questions and the way they look is very, very different, right? In Switzerland, you need to provide, your financial projections for the next 3 to 4 years, right? In detail. Questions are around, what are your biggest challenges? What is the risk? Here, most people or most investors don't even want to see those kind of numbers because they already know that this is going to change. The only thing they want to see is how big can you take this? How far can you go with this? So yeah, it's quite interesting how maybe you could almost say the Europeans are analyzing the risk and the Americans are analyzing the opportunity.
It's interesting that you say this because, coming from Zurich, Switzerland, we not only have several major insurance companies, Zurich being one of them, but also reinsurance companies, so Swiss Re and others. So, we've really figured it out historically. and have built a whole industry out of it. So it's an interesting point you raise. I'd like to still dive into something else, which is you and your co-founder are both investing in startups, and as we know, the amount of female investors and also female tech founders who then go on to raise large rounds is very rare. Single digit. I think 2% of funding goes to female founders, which is just incredibly low. What is your view in terms of, do you think, if you sort of compare at some of these investor roundtables, how you are making decisions, how you are choosing investments, do you see differences? And, what are your thoughts on improving some of these deplorable low statistics?
So Ariana is leading the Zurich office while I'm leading the San Francisco office. We talk a lot about it, right? And I mean, the fact that we are two women, that's already pretty rare, trying to start this accelerator investment fund, right? So there are not too many women even running funds or doing investments. It's also rare on that side, right? And I think,
why is that?
I think it always has to do with role models, right? I think you want to see other people like you succeeding and following them or inspiring yourself, right? I think that has a lot to do with it. And there are just not too many female role models on the investor side. And then, of course, that has an impact on what is invested in, because you're also supporting rather somebody who is a bit more like you, or you understand or relate. So I feel often that's just me speculating, right? But I assume a male colleague of mine might relate a little more to a male founder and how they are pitching and how they're positioning something. And I'm coaching a lot of women when we go out and fundraise. And I think and that's even for myself and Ariana, right? Because we're also always fundraising, right? So going out, selling yourself, asking for people to invest in your ideas, support you, and sometimes even by be bold and promise something you don't know yet you can actually realize. And I think we women struggle a little bit more with that. Kind of, I don't want to overpromise. What if I can't deliver? And I think males don't struggle with that as much, right? They can tell you, in 10 years, this is going to be a $10 million $10 billion company, no problem. And I just feel we like to do what we promise we do, right? That's a bit more of a female thing. So often when we're coaching female founders, that's kind of where I'm trying to push them, right? It's like, present your stretch goals, right? Go be ambitious. You'll figure out how you can get there, right? You don't need to know everything right now. And so I think the little bit, the way I talked about, how the Americans have a lens of looking at an investment and how the Europeans have. And I think there is also a bit of a different lens when you're listening to a woman and when I'm listening to a man, me personally, right? I'm trying to listen to a woman exactly the way I listen to a man. That's the first thing, right? I don't already think, he's probably going to make it. I'm not sure if she really has the skills. So I'm trying to evaluate them the same way. And then I honestly think I might have a bit more a sensitive ear. I'm like, she's modest here. She doesn't want to overpromise. She's really concerned about a certain topic and is actually mentioning it and not hiding it. So there might be a slight difference in the way we listen to women as women. We try to make, for us, it's very clear that we do want to have at least 50% of women in the portfolio, like female founders, and that we do want to have it also on our investor side. And so far, so good. It happened quite naturally. It's not that we said, hey, we need to find minimum of 50% women, but we have a lot more women coming to us. And I think it's exactly that role model question, or that kind of trust you have. I get a lot of calls or people trying to get an introduction to us that come with an early idea, that want to maybe talk to a first investor before they go out, and they probably feel slightly more comfortable to do this with somebody like Ariana or me than going to a male investor. I don't know. But we do get a lot of more women that reach out to us. So we don't have a problem finding those 50%.
So Sophie, what is your vision for Dart Labs then?
I want Dart Labs really to be the most successful kind of smart money accelerator that really bridges Europe and the US, that finds the best startups, really has an impact on their work and on their success. So that is going to be, it will never be that we're going to have like 300 startups every 6 months going through a batch, almost like a factory. I rather want to keep this boutique, but I want to have the best founders, the best teams, the ones with the biggest impact that we really can help scale.
What would your advice be to someone who is on either end of that bridge and wants to make the leap, be it from the US to Europe or from Europe to Switzerland? What is sort of one key piece of advice you would give such a founder at an early stage?
You really have to commit to it, right? I don't think you can do it halfway, right? It's a different culture, it's a different market, it's a new size, it's a lot of new players. So the most successful companies I've seen doing it, it really meant that one of the founding team members actually moves here for a moment and really establishes his team here, really dives in, understands what it means. It's not something you can just outsource. It's not something you can just hire and like, oh, and then we're going to enter the US market. It really is a commitment. And that's in both ways, right? And it's even more complex if an American company wants to do this in Europe, because it's fragmented, right? It's again something else if you want to launch a company in France or in Sweden or in Eastern Europe, right? So yeah, really understanding where you are, what market this is, and how it works takes commitment.
Well, thank you so much, Sophie, for this conversation. It's been a real pleasure. And I just wish you all the best at building this bridge between Europe and Silicon Valley. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We will continue every week with conversations with people who are shaping the digital economy. I hope you keep on tuning in. If you'd like, you of course can click the subscribe button below, and I look forward to welcoming you back in just a week's time here on the sunny side.